Hello, welcome to the session One Platform, Multiple Subsidiaries. My name is Sarah, and I'm a pre-sales engineer at RSM. In this session, we'll be exploring NetSuite OneWorld, a product that enables companies to manage multiple subsidiaries in a single instance. We'll begin by discussing subsidiary and currency management. Then, we'll see intercompany transactions and netting. We'll follow that with the automated month-end close process. Finally, we'll observe the real-time consolidated reporting and dashboard tools that complete the OneWorld package. Before we start the demo, it's important to understand the type of company who should use NetSuite OneWorld. Ultimately, OneWorld supports global, multi-subsidiary organizations. Most companies can adapt the capabilities of NetSuite OneWorld to meet the requirements of their particular operations and structure. However, OneWorld is most beneficial to companies with the shown characteristics. These include subsidiaries exist as separate legal entities, particularly foreign subsidiaries. The top-level parent subsidiary owns 100% of all subsidiaries. All subsidiaries have similar business processes, and all subsidiaries generally use the same chart of accounts and fiscal periods. A new NetSuite implementation can be set up with NetSuite OneWorld, or an existing environment can be upgraded to a OneWorld account. If you are interested in NetSuite OneWorld, please contact your account representative. Let's dive into NetSuite to see the OneWorld functionality in action. The fundamental step to OneWorld is setting up your subsidiaries. Here we can see my list of subsidiaries. Parent-child relationships are denoted by the indentations. OneWorld can support up to 250 subsidiaries. If you require more, there is additional pricing requirements. In addition to the subsidiaries representing your organization's separate legal entities, you must create elimination subsidiaries for use in balancing consolidated financials. Because intercompany transactions post to two or more subsidiaries, the revenue and expenses must be eliminated at the consolidated level to maintain balanced financials. OneWorld uses elimination journal entries using the elimination subsidiaries to provide this balance. Subsidiary setup is relatively simple. You can see the form here has just a few required fields, including name, country, fiscal calendar, and currency. If the subsidiary is a child subsidiary, you would select their immediate parent in the parent subsidiary field. If the subsidiary is an elimination subsidiary, select the elimination subsidiary checkbox. Next part of setup is currencies. You should set up every currency that is used by each of the subsidiaries. The required fields include name, default locale, ISO code, and default exchange rate. Below the exchange rate box, there is an option to select automatic update. I recommend using this tool so your exchange rates are updated daily and most accurately reflect the current exchange rate. NetSuite offers two currency exchange rate integration providers, Ignite and HSBC. You also have the option to manually update exchange rates and determine the effective date of that rate. Now that we have our subsidiaries and currencies, we can begin transacting. Let's create an intercompany journal entry to represent a transaction between two of our subsidiaries. The Advanced Intercompany Journal Entry page mirrors that of a single subsidiary journal entry, however, includes subsidiary at the line level. I'll select the initiating subsidiary here at the header level. The subsidiary I select here will automatically populate on the first line of the journal. I'm going to input two lines on this journal entry, one line in the originating subsidiary and one in the Canada subsidiary. An intercompany journal entry requires a minimum of 4 lines so the transaction is balanced in both subsidiaries. So obviously, I am not done just yet. Fortunately, NetSuite OneWorld includes an auto-balancing tool to save time when creating intercompany transactions. I'll simply select Auto Balance and let NetSuite do the thinking for me. We can see that NetSuite added 2 additional intercompany lines to the journal entry. An intercompany receivables line has been created in the U.S. subsidiary, and an intercompany payables line in Canada. These lines also include the relevant intercompany vendor and customer records attributed to their respective subsidiaries. The due to, due from subsidiary fields have also been automatically populated, along with the currency exchange rate that sources the most current rate from our currency exchange rate table we visited earlier. Finally, NetSuite also marked these two lines for elimination, which we'll see later in this video during the month-end close process. I'll save this journal entry and quickly show you the GL impact of the transaction. We can see the transaction posted two lines to each subsidiary, and the Canadian lines reflect the appropriate amount in that subsidiary's base currency. NetSuite OneWorld also includes intercompany netting functionality. Intercompany netting allows you to settle mutual intercompany open balances across subsidiaries. NetSuite will automatically generate settlements, which reduces human error from manually generating those settlements. We'll begin the netting process at the Balance Overview page. This page shows us the outstanding payables and receivables balances among the subsidiaries, along with available netting balances, which is derived from the payables and receivables balances for each subsidiary pairing that shares a transactional currency. We can see there is an available netting balance between United States East and West. Throughout the period, the two subsidiaries have transacted between each other, and NetSuite has found an outstanding balance of $4,100. By selecting New on the line, we are taken to the netting workbench. Here, you can manually select the transactions to be paid through the settlement, or you can let NetSuite suggest netting by choosing in order from oldest to newest. Clicking Save will generate a netting statement that lists the transactions that will be paid and the transactions that will be generated upon approval. Once approval has occurred, the netting settlement transactions are created and generate a GL impact. Each subsidiary has two netting settlements, one entry to AP and another to AR. The Applied To subtab lists the transactions being paid by the settlement. The subsidiary with a balance can now make a payment to the other subsidiary using their standard practice of recording payments. NetSuite OneWorld also helps expedite the month-end close process. Let's go to our period close checklist to complete the relevant intercompany tasks. For the sake of time, I have already completed some of the other tasks. When you are using OneWorld, your tasks like locking AR allow you to pick which subsidiaries you are closing for, so some subsidiaries can remain open while others are closed. We can see there's a number of tasks that are specific to OneWorld. Create Intercompany Adjustments is a task that allows you to automatically generate journal entries for intercompany time and expenses. Generate Intercompany Cross Charges lets you generate cross charges between subsidiaries that provided business services to each other. One transaction will be created for the selling subsidiary and one for the buying subsidiary, creating an open intercompany payable and receivable balance that can be settled with intercompany netting. Revalue open foreign currency balances runs revaluation on receivable, payable, and bank accounts. A revaluation dated on the last day of the month you are processing is created, in turn creating a reversing entry posted to the first day of the next period. The two tasks I wanted to show are calculate consolidated exchange rates and eliminate intercompany transactions. When completing calculate consolidated exchange rates, NetSuite will check the transactions and currency exchange rates from which consolidated rights are derived, and automatically update the consolidated exchange rates. Once this task is complete, we can see the updates in the Consolidated Exchange Rates table. This table captures the current, average, and historical exchange rates for every subsidiary for every period. We can see my demo account includes rates all the way back to 2014. The current rate is the exchange rate in effect at the end of the period. Average rate is the weighted average based on transaction amounts for the period for all accounts with a general rate type of average, mostly asset and liability accounts. Historical rate is the weighted average based on transaction amounts for the period with a rate type of historical, usually equity accounts and owners' investments. The final task is eliminate intercompany transactions. NetSuite will search for transactions marked for elimination, like the journal entry we created earlier. NetSuite will generate journal entries in the aforementioned elimination subsidiaries. We can see an example of a journal entry that includes our earlier transaction among many others. Using NetSuite OneWorld and completing the related month-end tasks keeps your subsidiaries balanced and saves you time from running eliminations and consolidations manually. Finally, let's venture into the reporting and analytics benefits of NetSuite OneWorld. I'm going to use my home dashboard of a CFO role. The best dashboard feature of OneWorld is the Subsidiary Navigator, seen here. The Navigator gives us a good visual of our subsidiary structure, with the parent-child relationships depicted like a family tree. Currently, my environment is showing me a consolidated view of data on my dashboard. However, if I make a selection of a singular subsidiary by clicking on United States East, you can see my dashboard taking a moment to refresh. The data displayed on my dashboard is now specific just to that United States East subsidiary. This also defaults the data I consume in other areas of NetSuite. Selecting United States East subsidiary in the Subsidiary Navigator defaults that subsidiary in my reports and searches. With NetSuite OneWorld, you can easily run consolidated reporting for all your subsidiaries. Let's take a look at the NetSuite standard income statement. I can control the subsidiary data being shown using the subsidiary context filter. I can choose to run parent company at a consolidated or individual view. Consolidated will show me data for all of the children of parent company rolled into one report. I can also leverage the column filter for viewing the data a bit differently. By selecting Subsidiary Hierarchy, I can view my income statement with a consolidated view that breaks out each subsidiary into their own column. I can still see the total consolidated amount at the end, but I can also read the individual amounts for each subsidiary without having to run the report multiple times with the standard subsidiary filter. Hopefully this video has shown you the power of leveraging NetSuite OneWorld for managing multiple subsidiaries. The product boasts simple setup, streamlined transacting, efficient period close, and comprehensive reporting. Thanks for watching this session on NetSuite OneWorld.